Hello everyone. I'm here at Rockford State Park, and it is east of Concrete, Washington on Highway 20. Behind me, you see some very large Douglas firs. It was named after a Scottish guy who came over here in the mid 1800s and was cataloging all the different plant and animal species that he saw. Well, no one had claimed these giant trees, and so he put his own name on it, and now it's called the Douglas fir. The cool thing about it is that he also named several other things. We have a decent sized gray squirrel that's here in this area, and that is also named after him. It's called a Douglas squirrel, and most people just call them squirrels, but it's got his name on there. Anyway, this is the park. It's kind of a cool place to scope out, and it's got the largest decent stand of Doug fir in this immediate area. They're all substantial, several hundred years old, and well over 300 feet each. So they're decent trees. Just figured I'd want to show you this place and take you through what the trails offer here. Let's stay tuned. This plant right here is rather prevalent in marshy areas. We call this Devil's Club. I don't know its Latin name, but if you look, you can see the thorns. They're literally everywhere. And this stuff reaches out and grabs you. So you pay attention to these broad leaves and steer clear of them. Just thought you'd want to see this. The salmonberries are starting to come on. They won't be ripe for another month at least. You can see they're already starting to come out. Just thought I'd film this really quick. They did a core sample with this particular Douglas fir, and it began its life in 1660 and died the year I was born in 1974. That gives you an idea of just how long these trees stick around. Given that tree right over there, right behind that other tree, is also about the same age, because the same diameter. Just found that fascinating. This is a good example of what I mean when I say that everything's covered in moss. The trees are just absolutely steeped in it. And of course, the moss does absolutely nothing to the tree. It gets all of its nutrients from the air. But it's definitely interesting to see. Here you got a combination of western red cedar and Douglas fir. Just thought I'd point this out. This Doug fir fell quite a while ago, And as you can see, the roots have been exposed. The important thing is to see the depth of the roots. Not even 3 feet. The roots go laterally. They don't go down. And that's why the trees that survive are trees that are surrounded by other trees fairly closely. The roots interlock and prevent them from falling over. And so I can come up just a little bit. You can see it's covered in different plants and stuff now, but you get the idea. They don't go very deep at all. All right, everyone, this is the trail we've been hiking. Started off right here. This is the Evergreen Trail. Came all the way around here. The Bracken Fern that was started growing in 1660 is right here. Came up here. This is the bridge we crossed the creek at that I filmed. Came up to the top of the park right here. And now we're right here. We still have all this way to go. So now you're up to date. This is another example of those root balls that I was telling you about, how shallow they are. Now this is actually two trees. There's a line between the one on the right and the one on the left. And the first one fell and probably took the other one right down with it. These are more salmonberry flowers. And here later in the year, probably like June, we'll have really ripe salmonberries out here. They look the same design as blackberries and raspberries. They have a milder flavor to them than those, but they're rather good actually. Thought I'd film this. This is part of the trail that is closer to the parking lot, and they've widened it and made it as flat as possible so that if you wanted to, you could take somebody in a wheelchair out here. They've made sure all the bridges over the creeks are extra wide and able to handle it as well. So people with limited access, or limited means I should say, still have the ability to come out and see at least part of the forest. Sure, a Segway would do great out here too. Well, right here we have two different kinds of ferns that are relatively close to each other. This one that goes parallel to the ground like this, that is called a Bracken Fern. And over here, the ones that go up in a straight line, those are sword ferns. So now you can tell the difference. You can see both of them right there in the same shot. I wanted to film this just simply because I saw something on here that truly surprised me. I didn't even know we had them here. Take a look at that guy. Northern flying squirrel. If I asked anyone that I know who lives in this area if we had flying squirrels here, they'd all say no. This is the very first time I've ever seen anything that depicted a flying squirrel living in our area. This covers all the different kinds of moss that you typically see. Marbled murrelet, whatever the hell that is. It's just a normal moss on top of things. Lungwort is the more ragged looking moss. The moss that hangs down from the tree is called bearded lichen. And the stuff you see typically falling on the floor all the time, that's ragged lichen. So now you've received your lesson for today regarding Pacific Northwest forest. Also wanted to film this. These little ferns here are not sword ferns. Those little ones there are called deer ferns, as in deer the animal. And so yeah, they're a little harder to spot, but they are out here. All right, people. This is something I've always wondered about, and I've never understood the mindset of homeowners. Why is it that you plant grass in this area that you have to go out and mow all the time, and yet we have this that naturally lives here and never ever has to be mowed? All you have to do is keep it wet. Maintains the same height. It's still soft to the touch. And it's green. Maybe it's just me that I don't understand the idea behind having grass in a yard when this requires zero maintenance. Riddle me that, Batman. I've shown this several times already, but I want to show it again. The tree, the large tree in front of me, is a Douglas fir. The one to its immediate left is a western hemlock. You can see just how thick the bark is on a Douglas fir. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've seen thicker bark on redwoods, but that's about it. And as you can see, Doug fir, they grow very straight, very tall, which is why they're highly desired in the lumber industry. And as you can see, they just keep going up. They're very straight trees. Not a whole lot of branches until you get to the very top. They're just fascinating trees, and for the people who don't live in areas where Doug fir grow, this is quite something to see. All right, people. This concludes the Rockport State Park video. I've shown you several different things here, and did a little more walking video than I typically do, just simply because it is kind of a neat place to look at. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you out there.